Here we are to restore, and we're going to start with a horizontal cobbler pose. So what you'll need is a bolster, a standard flat bolster in the center, across horizontal. And then your blankets, you might go to one folded blanket after a few moments. This will be a very intense chest opener. So I recommend have two, stack them up as high as the bolster, maybe a tiny bit lower, so you're not rounding your neck. But this way we can really work on this, the lateral movement in the breathing muscles, the extended out movement, all these fun movements with your intercostals. So as you sit in front of your bolster on the floor, you're going to take a couple blocks and just place them under the thighs with the soles of the feet together-ish. They may be lightly touching, but we're going to get them together because we got a belt. Okay. So as you get your belt connected, so you got a loop, be generous with the loop so that you won't be struggling, and just bring it overhead around to the pelvis. And I want you to scoop up your feet that are sole to sole, okay? And you want the belt to be strong on the inside, right? Not on the outside, on the inside. Slide the buckle so it's up in easy reach to your, I usually put on the dominant hand side so it's easier, but you can have either side. So my buckle is really close up to my, kind of at my waist here on the right side. So as I need to get out of it, it will be easy peasy. Okay, so I'm going to tighten it up quite a bit because I do want this to help my stability in my sacroiliac, and so it kind of cups that area. It's like a wand around the SI joints here on the back side. And as you lower back, use your elbows. And then as you recline, you get to stuff those blocks under the legs however you like, right? I like to kind of stuff them so that there's no wobbly. They're stuck. And then as I lower back, I have my sandbag right here. I'm gonna let my head get down to the blanket first. And then I'm gonna move my top blanket a little bit higher. You wanna find that so you can just do another fold on your blanket. In the beginning, I know the sand will help improve this range of motion in the ribs, but just pretend you got no sand, you don't sand at all, so that you can find the natural creation of this pose before you start adding these things that alter it. Okay, so first we've got the belt around the back of the pelvis, holding our feet. And then as I feel that movement in my core, I'm not going to try to pull it back any further. I'm going to try to settle it down with my sand. So it'll be a natural motion. Once I have weight to hold it, my sand can go across, or it can go lengthwise from heart to belly. And it's entirely fine if you don't use a sandbag, for sure, okay? It's an option. Okay, and I'm going to try to find where the sandbag is hugging my breathing pathway. So I might even just take a few moments, elbows on the bolster, and kind of track where the neck is lengthening, where the ribs are in motion. I definitely need more blanket today than I'm used to for this one. So for whatever reason, hold yourself to feel supported by the props. So now as I trust that I can move my elbows out to the sides, kind of like I'm going to hold the bolster at my back. And I have this image like the bolster's at my back and I'm kind of running down the street with it, but I'm just on my back with the elbows kind of hugging it and the arms relax out. So it's a really efficient way to stretch the breathing muscles and the chest and the shoulders with the bolster this way. And we're all different lengths with our extremities and our torso. I realize that. So you might find your arms are way out to the side, or maybe you're goalposting the arms, elbows wide, hands straight back. But relax your eyes. And then just simply feel the motions of the inhale and the out breath. Okay, feeling what softens and what areas you can kind of tease the tissues into just sensation, right? There's dead areas, right? Dead spots where you don't feel awareness. They're just kind of lurking and touching the props, but you don't have to be all energetic. But you might just notice the outline of your pose from your feet to the knees, kind of like connect the dots to the pelvis, the hips, and then over the ramp for the ribs. Breathing. It can only help. Now, if your neck wants to let go a little further, you can make the blanket height a little lower. But if this feels just fine, I would just stay with it. Transition will come, just trust that. So take about another 5 to 8 breaths, depending on your pace. You decide when you use that sand, if you are as a weight training for the respiratory muscles, really feel that length. Well, I don't know if you feel length of breath, but feeling and kind of inner witness to how the timing is of your in and out breath. But usually if this deep, respiratory chest opener, it's probably not it's a little more shallow, right? Than the out breath that's longer. So do your work on trying to increase that length, that inner reaction, right? For receiving your oxygen and then shedding out. I'm doing this so that when we get into our twist, which we're going to do in the earlier part, we have a little bit of warmth in the rib cage. And then towards the end, we'll do some reclining twists. So it'll be hopefully a very good releasing, softening practice. Okay, now arms have the option to move, right? You can reach the hands together over the heart area, turn the hands inside out, stretch them up towards the ceiling. You keep it real simple, not over stretching the shoulders, just feeling the back area. The difference when the arms are lifted than when they're out and down with the breath, I find interesting. I can get a longer breath when I'm not exerting, right, like with the arms open. Okay, now if you got sand on the ribs, just take off the Sand-Aid, okay? And then first things first, just unbuckle. This is where we want to have ease to release the belt. I just slide it off with my feet. And let's try figure 4 we'll give you 2 different points of reference for how to do this. So you're going to slide your feet towards your seat, just whatever is easy for your knees. Not overdoing, pushing them close, just walk them in so they're about hips distance for a second. Okay. All right, so I've got my back breathing muscles, like pressure into them still. Plenty of blanket under my head. And then I'm just going to push into my left foot and lift up the right leg, cross the right ankle, just the ankle. You're not doing a whole leg crossover, but the ankle to the knee, although it is tempting to try that and see how that feels. So right ankle to the left knee, and then let the right knee just kind of splay out. Now, movement is okay. It's not as if you have to stay still and, a strict no movement policy thing. But just kind of feel when your back area has that range of motion, which is pretty great right now. And then the front area, instead of trying to grip it up more, see if you can invite a little softness in the lower belly. And let that move to the back body too. This is really pulling apart some of the tissues. Tissues with issues. Okay, it might not be a big hip stretch. It might be a little plain. So as you uncross the right foot from the left, just switcheroo. You might wag your tail for a moment, just kind of feel sacrum. It was just recently being pulled by the belt. So give it a moment of just ease and then push into your right foot. Use this as a balancing. So when I lift my left leg up, I try to keep tailbone center, okay, and then isolate the left ankle to the right knee. So in other words, I want you to keep this low back area pretty solid, not twisting it. We're not twisting here. This is a joint of stability. So just be a little careful there when you cross the ankle over. Remember, lots of support under your head. That's going to help that natural curve. So if you don't have enough support, you might be just in achy back situation. We don't want achy back situation. Okay, left ankle, the left knee splays out. I imagine one side is an easier time moving outwards than the other. Okay, with the hip. And you might find the left buttock is really not supported on the ground as much because you're stretching into the left hip slightly. So feel what touches the bolster. Breathe into those areas across the back. Just take a few more breaths here. It's a little different invention today, how we're going inwards. Okay, now as we uncross the left ankle, make your way slow with your knees swaying to either side. Maybe the side you didn't get out of bed on, whichever side you're going to go is fine. You're going to roll a little bit so your ribs touch the bolster, definitely to come up. Use that as a gain to come up. So I like to do this kind of rolling a little side to side on the bolster before I twist sometimes. I think it's a nice way to feel how gravity can stretch out my rib areas, my thoracic, my mid-back. And then when I come up, we're just going to take a seat on bolster and make it just a cross-legged position, whatever's cozy. If you need blocks stuffed under the knees, go for it. And just shrug your shoulders and roll them back, okay? Feel if neck drops down or chin drops down. Don't drop your neck, okay? So feel shoulders kind of smoothing back purposely by lifting them up and rolling them. And then let your head tilt to the side. Either side will do. Let the hands relax. The shoulders are down-ish, right? They may not stay programmed down as far as they can go, but just alleviate some of that neck crud. Just let the head lean to one side. Okay, keep the throat lifted as you go to the other side. Go slow. Yeah, releasing tension is a slow deal. And let your head tilt to the other side. Just breathe. Okay. So now we're going to take a block in front. We'll place it at the low setting. Okay, so just have a block in front and place your right foot on top. And you're sitting on your bolster. And I like to have a ball or a block. It could be either. What I'm going to propose, I'm going to do like the most basic version of this. So if you don't like to do, deep twist with the leg crossed over, this will be the option that you have. This will be a little bit more comfortable for most. So I'm going to put a block behind. Actually, I don't know if I'm going to need that because of all these blankets. It's a lot of blankets, huh? Okay, so take a sandbag to the left thigh. Make the sand support like a hip hugger, so it's pretty high up. And then as you're seated, okay, spine, I don't want to say spine tall because we want it to have all the curves, which does make it tall. But as I'm here, I'm going to lean forward, so tilt, and still consider this waist area. You can always kind of hold your waist or bring your thumbs to the back. Think about kind of kidney area, just that thoracolumbar area here. And this is the area, like the lowest part is where we're going to be twisting, right? So you might kind of rub into that area, and as you lean forward, if you want to, you don't have to lean. You might find, oh, okay, a little bit of hip awareness. Okay. All right, now when you lean forward, I hope you feel a little bit in that right hip, because this is what we want when we take a twist of this nature. So your door number one is come back up to where you just feel still the curves. Remember, you don't have to go all the way back. because that might create more of the roundness like this. So you want to feel a little bit of the curves and then reach for the right knee with your left hand. This is option one. We have two. Right hand back to the blanket stack or the block, and then take the twist. Now feel how the breath gets kind of a challenge. Now, if you're going to do option two, this means you take the ball out from under the knee and then cross the right leg over the left. Okay, this will be more hip oriented. My left hand holds just below the right knee. And then when I turn, I got to get my belly zone to twist too. Right? Let the belly turn, even if you have to kind of give it a little direction. Come on, belly, let's go. Right hand back and left arm can stay holding onto the knee. Or just remember, this is leverage. You can bring your arm to the right leg. If that feels a little too restrictive with your breathing, or you know better, you've been told not to, right? Then you can pass on it. So if you feel like you want to just let the arm reach. You don't want to be jabbing your leg and trying to get too much leverage. It's just not good for osteoporosis, not good for osteopenia, folks. So you have to be a little careful that you're working with lifting up out of that core band, right? The belly up, and then turn. Breathing. Belly up's not a good description, but that's okay. We try. Okay, now some of you might have your foot on the block, right? This is the other option. It's a little bit different. And now when you come back center, take the right foot onto the block again, okay? And take that leaning forward just a moment. If you have the ball under the knee or you prefer that, or hey, maybe this leg needs to stay straight. You could do that as well. Okay, take just a moment here now. Feel if you can lift through your sternum. So kind of get a feeling of the chest area lifting. Okay, and then come back on up and just switch sides. So right leg draws in, left foot goes onto the block. My ball goes under the right knee. My sand goes to the right thigh. We're just trying to keep it really clicked in here with back care. Okay, we're doing all this before inversions and brain fluid and stuff. So this is pre-inversion. Okay, so find that stability. You can always hold onto your ribs or bring the hands back to that thoracolumbar area, kind of mid back to the low. And then when I lean forward, I'm with you. I know the thing about the chin dropping down, right? It's not a foreign back experience, spine experience. So let the spine be with you, right? Kind of notice, that's kind of a nice thought. Like, it's a pretty important part of my existence, my spine. So I'm going to work on, less efforting with flexibility and more breathability and leaning forward. In breath and leaning forward. Okay, and then go into the twist. So I'm just going to leave my foot on the block. I think this is pretty good. Right hand to left knee. I just want you to see this option one. Turn. Now kind of feel for you, does the chest feel like it can move back with that left arm if your legs are this way? Now, if you cross it, take away the ball. If you cross it, I do tend to, I think it's just kind of burned in my mind. This is the official twist or something. But if it hurts you, it's not worth it. So if you feel like you're having trouble with the breath, it's a nice twisted lung thing. I like this for the intensity with circulation, the lymphatic system focus, kind of that blood circulation intensifies when I come out of it, right? Oxygenating, but it's going to be the same. Freshly oxygenated blood will be the same either way, right? Whether it's my foot on the block or I have this little more intense twist. So offer yourself that rotation to the left for another breath. Maybe let your eyes relax. Feel the shoulders. And then find even shoulder existence when you go forward. Forward bend. We do very few forward folds in this class. As we get older, it's not as if that's going to be the best thing for our for posture, right? So we have to do them with that integrity with our back. May the spine be with you as you lean forward. I can feel this in my inner left leg. I can feel it in my hip a little bit. Okay, and then come on up. That's kind of fun. It's kind of a good drill for alignment. Alignment drill. Okay, so let's place the sand in our lap. Uh-oh. Okay, take your block that was down below and put it off to the side. And then if your belt's kind of trapped on your under your bolster like mine happens to be, my props can get in the funniest places sometimes. Okay, so take your belt and let's buckle up. And so you got a big, this is a big loop one. This is big loop time. Yeah, if you got a quick release, be careful of your hand. Even if it's loud, I don't want to be too loud for you. Oof, wake up. Okay, so let's take our blankets down to just one. So if you got a bunch of blankies back there, you only want one at the most, right? So if you're comfy with less height, like a very low height blanket, perfect. You're probably going to be better off with your cervical vertebrae, I bet. But if you need that padding, like for me, in the beginning, I need a little bit more blanket for whatever reason. I was straining. So honor where you're at, and you're sitting with the bolster across horizontal. We haven't changed that much, have we? We're going to shift a little forward so that when you lower back, your bum is kind of a little bit off the bolster here. It's like, okay, am I going to move down or am I going to move back? Now, as I slide the tailbone to the edge, then I move back. It gets a lot easier with practice. Yeah, if it's a little bit uncoordinated, just keep coming back. Just keep practicing. Okay, so legs are going to go up, and what I'm intending is that you have Viparita Karani, which is this pose. Viparita is reverse, Karani is action. And when the legs are lifted, this is kind of nice to do in the middle of the room. You know, we're always at the wall with it, and that's a really great way to do it too. But this way we get a little bit core strength, okay? If you're like, I don't want to use that sand on my feet, that's just shaky, then you can always go minus the sand and have nothing on them. The feet get stepped on a lot, right? So if you just don't want anything on your feet for now, you don't want to step on them or put anything, go free. Okay, arms are open and elbows have to find a wave of reaching that stretches horizontally in the ribs. So I don't want you to feel like you've got to suck it in. That's like the last thing. So if you keep kind of going back to that, oh, it feels so slim or something, try to get bigger. Go back to bigger, expand, and then relax. So this whole zone of interest here, belly organs, the organs, right, can find some simple movement and massage. So you could even just place your hands on the lower belly zone and feel that moving. Nice to notice the skill that you have of breathing, proper circulation, and care into that core. And now you can sense, even if your arms are out, which is nice to do, anything to reinforce that openness of the chest. The inversion places the weight of the abdominal organs right on the diaphragm, of course. They're buddies. So the diaphragm's got to work a little harder when you're upside down. Okay, so when I lift up with the legs, I want to just keep the legs kind of just solid, like brick solid. So there is that weight, and they're just straight up and down vertical, not overhead, not at all. Not a good idea. So when I land in the back of the pelvis here, take about 3 more breaths. Yeah, consider kind of width in the lower belly. Yeah, it may take some kind of isolating focus there. And you can always toss that idea if you don't like it. Maybe you want to pull that in or whatever, but this is a good offering for our diaphragmatic kind of trampolining. It's like, yay, I get to work out in here. Upside down, here we are. Okay, so let's shift a little bit. I hope you have, if you don't have a therapy ball like one of these, you can use a block, okay? You can use either. I like the ball because you get kind of that, it has responsiveness. When you squeeze it, the block just doesn't. So it's a nice little work in the pelvic floor. Okay, so ball off to the side. We're going to use it. We'll bend the knees and just slide the sand. You can toss it overhead. You can put it off to the side yard, and then place a ball or a block. Again, if you're using a block, narrow setting, the lowest setting, ball between the knees, arms open, and knees go side to side. And you can always stay in the middle with the ball and just squeeze and release. You can kind of play with it. Yeah, I feel like I want to stretch out my lower back though. So as I go side to side, I'm motioning. My arms are wide. There may be clutter in your way, so kind of jab it away so you can feel your elbows out to the sides. And as you're leaning, your back, though, doesn't twist. This is probably a little bit important here. So I'm not trying to roll my shoulders to the side like this and roll. I'm trying to keep my tailbone on that bolster, and it is lifting up. My hip is lifting up and over. So I want you to just be careful that from your sternum, this area, not twisting, right? Not twisting, but my abdominal, my hip area is, right? So sternum just stays center, not rolling. So my chest opens. Just take a few more. Motion and breath. Now feel when you go to the side. Let's do one more each side, the twist and the reaction in your breath. It's similar to when we were just sitting and twisting. When you're twisting, the breath is a little more challenging. That's why you need to breathe when you twist. Don't hold back, let the belly relax. And that's a cue that I didn't really catch on until, I don't know, maybe 6 years ago, but you want the abdominals to be relaxed when you twist so that you can create tone in the diaphragm. Otherwise, it just clenches up your breathing muscles. Okay, so move the ball aside and then take your belt. And let's go ahead and simplify this one. So I'm going to kind of reset on my bolster. I want to be cozy on it. Just reorganize things. All right, so right leg's going to be up. So what you might do is just hug the leg in, door number one. Okay, let the left leg release down. If you're kind of stuck against a wall, you might have to move back, but if you're touching it, it can feel nice. And I bet if you get your sand on that leg and you're close to the wall, you might get the perfect amount of touch because it'll kind of stretch it down, but just the right amount. So I can feel the ball of the foot. That just randomly worked pretty good. Sometimes it's random. Okay, belt under right foot. If you need to get the belt under the foot, then add the sand. That can be realistic for our back sensitivity. So now I'm going to have the belt's in a big loop. So I'm going to get the tail of the belt on my right side so I can kind of pull it easier. Now, if I get the belt in that loop, I want to reach it behind my head, not my neck. So there, it's just a little too tight. So I'm going to loosen it up on its own before I get it there. So as you stretch your head back, let your head lean, and it might be completely on the blanket. If you really like that kind of, not suspense, but that kind of suspension yoga idea. Suspension yoga is a good name. So you could have the traction here. I got no blanket. I'm just going to do a little bit of cranial cradling. The cranial cradle. Okay, now if my neck is doing too much flexion, like chin to chest, not such a great idea, but you might feel the chin just gently lift and the arms open. Now we're all going to find the balance of this one on it individually. Some of us are not big fans of the belt to the occiput, to the shelf at the back of our head here. So if not, or you need to take a break from it, just get your hands inside the belt to the sides of your head, slide it off the back of your head, and then reach your arms back into more of a shoulder extension. I like this one. This is pretty good. Okay, so you choose, and the leg focus just keep it real simple. It's just up. It doesn't need to be pulled on more. You might need to give yourself a lot more slack if it's too much hamstring intensity. Okay, so left leg's got that sandbag to stretch and soften the psoas. Let's feel as the range of motion through our neck. Breathing slow. Just letting go here. Now, as you begin to switch sides, feeling if the foot pushing the belt is interesting for your leg. It's going to have this correspondence of toning and flexibility intertwined, right? Because you're having to push and get that resistance so you can keep the belt traction for the neck. Kind of interesting. Okay, now let your head lean back. Slide the sand either to the floor if you don't want it on your belly, which is okay. Sometimes it doesn't feel right on the belly. Or if you're okay with the sandbag on the abdominals. And then I bring the hands behind to hold the belt and then switch sides. So left foot up, just push it into the belt, right leg lowers down. If your right leg got quite a stretch there, it was a lot, you might squeeze the back of the leg a little bit, do some squeezing with the fingers, kind of massage that, just get it some heat. You can tap on it and then let that right leg lower down. It's like, wow, that was quite the stretch. Give me a break. So the leg just relaxes, shake it out. And then now once your belt feels continuously supportive, then you move your sand straight down. Now, if you had your belt in your hands that whole time, it is a little easier. You just switch the foot and you just keep your hands reaching, right? Okay. So as I create that traction, the belt, it's not on the sides over my ears, but that's an interesting idea. Mine is propped up on just above the occiput. It's at that shelf. It's hugging the skull. It feels kind of nice, that cranial hold. I'm going to do this more often. Okay, so sand on the top of the right thigh. It could be further down. It could be higher up. The left knee needs to be kind of focused on, right? We don't want to pop the knee here, overextend, hyperextend. So you might have to put your fingers on the sides of it and just make sure it's got a little nano bend. The muscles at the back of the thigh direct the circulation there, back of the thigh, and then head leans back. Cat number 2 has entered the room. It's funny. Okay. All right, now as your head leans into the belt, relax the throat. This side, my chin's moving down a little bit more. I'm noticing some tendencies that are different. So really customize it so you feel like you have some traction at the back of the neck, the throat, shoulders back. Anywhere else would they go? And how about breathing? Now, if the second side feels different, right, just noticing, not trying to fix it or make it just as flexible as the other side. Just let it shed the gripping, right? So anytime we're inverted, we work on lymphatic circulation, which makes a lymphatic pump. But also it's great for the vascular system, for the heart. Just having the legs up returns the blood back to the heart If it gets really tingly, right, that's a sign it's time to come out. So if you need to come out sooner, it's always fine. Now with a bend of the left knee, just the right amount so you can feel how you cast sensation through the back leg. This kind of dulls it for me. It's not as intense bending the knee. And then I'm going to hold the back of my head with the left hand and then slide the sand off with the right. And then just take a little bit of a leg cruise. So we're going to hold on to the belt, slide it off the back of our head, find padding under your head, and then hold the belt with your right hand and cross the left leg over to the right. Yeah, and give it a little bit of a leg cruise. So you're kind of reaching across. At the last side, you did kind of that tapping at the back of the leg. You can go back to that. All the while, we're doing a little bit of respiratory strength because we're on our back with the bolster lifting our pelvis. It'll be interesting getting into the side sage next with the ribs. Okay, come back to center, switch a leg in the belt, other leg down, and then cross it over. Likely you're going to use opposite hand to the leg that's got the belt, but not everybody does that. Some people keep it same hand and leg, and they like that, same arm and leg. But as you're reaching, feel that coordination in that outer hip, breathing. And then lifting up, both feet in the belt. I always like this one, leg float, so the feet push out. This might be too big of a loop, too wide. So I'm just going to cinch it up a little bit. You want to find that this is productive for the lymphatic pump work. So reversing the flow through the leg pits, the lymph nodes here. So if I try to go extreme, it's kind of not very sensible. You do want to have it up, like that verticality, and then a little bit out, and that draining. And if you want to do a little bit of rocking on the back of the pelvis, that might feel nourishing for your hips. But stillness can be good. Right? Just kind of feel the drain of the legs, feel the openness of the heart, feel the shoulders back and down. Okay, just scan the spatial outline, kind of completing this part of the inversion cycle. We're going to complete it and come into our side abdominals, our core, our neck. But kind of feel the outline of very simple, just simple-minded. Reverse the flow from the extremities back to the heart. The blood moves from the extremities to the heart now. The feet can feel cool and a little tingly when the blood moves out. Not going to be as warm in the feet. Take a simple knee bending, and then feeling as you reach up to the belt, and you're going to slide, hold the belt, pull it, slide the feet together. And then as you kind of cuddle the knees in towards the chest, a little bit of that cradling, you can take the belt off. And as you put that to the side, then we're going to start to rock and roll a little bit to our left side to come into side sage with our left hip down. Now, so we're thinking corner of the hip to the side. So when I roll, some people I've seen do this tend to bring knees to chest and they push the bolster down and they get up that way. So if that works better for you, that's fine. If this is really awkward, then you don't have to do this version. You can bring the knees in, push your bolster, or just roll to the left. Okay, and then walk your hands up onto that bolster and push it a little away so you're not going to be pushed up against a wall. Okay, sometimes when I set up for side sage, I, on occasion, will add a little bit more height. Now, if you've got a round bolster, this could be really nice here because it just will keep that contour of your ribs and your spine. So if you have a round one, just put that here. And you can have your bolster on the other side in lieu of the blankets, right? You could do that too. But sometimes a bolster feels a little too much pressure under your head. So to each his own. Okay, I got a ball. I got a block. I'm going to use that in a sandbag. So the sand is going to be near your left knee, and your block is over the other side of the blanket, or if you're going to use the bolster. See, the bolster is about the same height if you have a round bolster here. But blankets are like, they get mashed down to what your neck needs. So I think blankets are kind of best. So ball under the right knee. Now you're in kind of a, sort of like like you're not quite doing pigeon pose, if you've ever noticed this one. It's sort of similar. They usually classify this in yin yoga as a deer pose. So when I lean in, my left hip presses down, my ball is under the right knee, or you don't use a ball if you don't like it. And then as you add your sand on the side, sandbag lengthwise can feel kind of interesting for your breathing muscles. So let's say you don't bring your arm overhead. This isn't what you do. Your shoulder doesn't allow that. Then you might like to position your sand kind of on this contour and kind of hold it down. You might prefer that if your arm doesn't go this way. Now, if your arm goes over, it's easier to keep the sand across the hip so it doesn't fall off. Then this might work better. Sand across, horizontal, and arm goes overhead. Now, as you change the association with your breathing muscles, it's like we are doing all these long pressure. The pressure systems in the vital organs is big on this set today. So just notice your breath. That could be your main indicator if you're in the right position, can you breathe? You know, always take a break and take a sip of water. That might be helpful too. A lot of things are getting squeezed and soaked and freshly oxygenated blood into these areas when we come in and out. So hydrate and oxygenate. So let your head lean. If the blanket height is too low and you're kind of tightening at your neck, then you can just fold it up once more. Yeah, it's very individual each time you practice. For me, I kind of want to roll the back of my head a little bit here, or have my blanket higher. Okay, so let the left arm relax in the middle. It's not doing anything. It's just there as in the gap. And the right arm may be striving a bit. Okay. But let your head relax. You can also bring your right arm down by your hip anytime. Down on the bolster anytime. Breathing. Okay, now when we shift, let's practice some spinal motions, like some inner movement with the back and the core. So when we move our sand, it can drop off the backside and then take that turn, right? This is a twist on its own. So when I turn, I just take the ball out, come to hands, knees. So the knees underneath the hips. And I think this one could be interesting to do, to have the hands on solid, firm surface at first. So palms spreading open the fingers, and then my tops of my feet pressed down, trying to stretch the top of my foot down, right? One side's a little different than the other because I have a dominant foot, so it's going to have a little bit less ability to relax. So when I round my back, but I want to feel the tops of my feet on the ground. You can put a blanket under your knees. How about both of them? If you need, arch the spine, and then round your back, chin to chest. Press the floor away. Arch the spine. Okay, really focus for yourself on a little bit of energy here, right? Versus passive, right? So you are trying to move the back of the pelvis and stretch out the back space across the blades. Okay, now next time you come back to table, you'll take your bolster, and if it's the round one, it'll still work. Hands on the bolster on top of the blanket. So I just stack my bolster on the blankets, and then I just stretch out through the armpit chest. Maybe your head nods, purposely really feeling it move with its own strength. This is a great opportunity to bring your hands on the floor now, and then taking a downward dog, lifting the knees up, stretching through the back line of the legs. Your feet could be at a wall. That makes it extra comfy. So I get my heels to lift up, get a little bit more inversion, right? Head below heart. Maybe nod your head a little side to side. And then come down to your hands, knees. Take your bolster, if you've got the round or the flat one, either one across, not on the blankets now. And then come to that second side sage on the right here. So just a little caution on the knee pressure, right? So when I shift down, I want to try to find a way to live in my knee a little bit here so I'm not trying to pull, keep tightening around it. So I think the ball is really great for that, although some people seem to think it's less of a pose or something, but it's probably, even if your knee is a happy knee, it might be a good little extra support and cushion for that inner texture of the leg. It's not going to hurt, it doesn't. So as I place the sand to my outer left side, it could be hip, it could be side body, right? Yeah, maybe play with it. So when you lean down, right, there is this sense of, I mean, we all have it, right? We'll lower down and we're trying to get the shape. We might kind of pull inwards with the skin, the breathing, kind of tightening. So feel if you get on the props, you just purposely try to expand. Yeah, that way you get a little bit of weight training here for your intercostals if your sand is on the intercostals, but no force, right? If you want sand on your hip, that's fine too. You're still going to get that stretch, right? See how the sand just creates that tone right away. And the left arm goes overhead. And maybe this side of your neck is like a whole different, country. Like, wow, it's not as many challenges here, right? So you might notice some differences. So just be in the present, right here for your neck. Let your head lean in. Feel that left side of the neck. Release. Breathing. And just feeling where there is movement across the ribs. Right? This is a sideominals, I like to say, experience. So we're often moving forward. So we're trying to get into the world that goes between that world to our backspace. And as we're featuring this to create that efficient lengthening, and you might not feel the point between your hip and your knee. It might be like kind of dead space again, that area, because there's so much energy in the upper. So there's only so much you can take, in your poses. Only so much I can take. So as I lean in, breathe. Okay, let the weight sink into that right hip. You do feel the hip weight is sinking. And you certainly could roll your head a little bit to the back and around if you feel like that's helpful. You don't have to have your hand touching the block. You can have your hand on the side. You can have your head move. But just be careful if you feel like the side of the cranial bones, like right at from the neck to the skull, that gets very tight, like to the point of creating a headache, right? You don't want to try to push that. So you want to just let the head relax. There are things you could do that could create worse things, right? With movement. So let's stay out of that. Breathing. Okay, now with that left arm reaching down to the sand, if there's sand, indeed, we're going to move it over, and then we're going to roll so that our core line is extended down in surfboard pose. So we'll turn, we'll roll into that right hip, move the ball, and then come around to kind of hands, knees-ish, but we'll turn our bolster lengthwise. Okay, this is great core work. I love these core options. So baby back bends. So when I lie on the bolster, I've got to kind of move a little bit away from the wall. I don't want to be kicking the wall. So I'm going to lower down and kind of feel when I lower down, that's too far up. So I want to have the bolster so that there's a little touch to the thighs. Use a flat bolster, don't use a round one. That would be a little tough to balance on. You could try. But position the bolster so that when you're on it, okay, you can kick, not kick, but push into the wall. See how that can be really nice support. So I found it. I found my support. Thank goodness. Okay, now I'm going to push the blankets away and see if I can reach through the arms. We did this last week with the hands at the wall. Yeah, we didn't really entertain going further with it. I think it was a little bit of an odd, it didn't really work great, but I tried it. So when the feet push into the wall, you're going to bring your elbows down to Sphinx pose. You're trying to get as much of this leg piece, the two legs, right? Pushing the heels back, feeling the arch to the spine. It's a pretty gentle arch, right? So chin moves a little bit forward. Okay, now feel as you move your chin a little forward, and then slide the hands back so they're under shoulders, elbows by your sides. Lift up with the chest, let your elbows squeeze into the sides, into cobra, right? Cobras don't have limbs. So be a little careful with how much you're pushing in with your hands. Okay. Now arms are going to stretch back besides your legs. If you get tired, you can always take a break and just come down to rest on your hands, okay? There's no like competition here, but once you get going, it's kind of nice to kind of go through the back care. The back and core care. So let's bring our hands to the sacrum. Okay, so my top of my hands, right, is pushing, my palms are open, and I'm just going to let my head lower here. So, because I need to take a little break. So as I breathe in, belly kind of pushes into the bolster, like pushing with the breath, and just lift your head a little bit. And then bring your hands down, noticing if that's like a relief. I feel a relief with my hands on the floor. And then elbows are going to slide forward into Sphinx, let the knees relax on the ground. So the legs are kind of straddling the bolster. So knees relax down, back of the pelvis, right, releases, arching through the spine, tummy time. Okay. All right, now slide your hands back, and then as you go into that natural arch, up dog, and then we'll come back to table. What I want us to do is get a block for each hand, and I like to come into this lunge with the bolster this way, but some people will say, that's just the most awkward thing in the world I've ever seen. So you're going to give this a try. So I got my blocks under my hands at the highest setting. Knees are going to go center. If you need a blanket under your knees, you got it. Step the right foot to the right corner, and right top right corner of the well, not of your mat, but to the right corner. Left thigh is going to stretch down. So let's turn our bolster. Let's do this. We'll turn it horizontal. So turn it across. So now you can walk your right foot into parallel between the blocks, and then lean in. So you're stretching through that left front leg, right into the pelvis. Yeah, that should be a little easier with the bolster now crossed, but I like to step into it that way. So my blocks, I'm going to position them way back, and then feel where the balance is of the thigh stretching and the back. So if your knee doesn't like this, there's a couple things. You could blanket it. You could also slide a little forward and put your thigh a little more on the bolster so your knee doesn't touch the ground much. That works really nice. I love to get the quad to stretch here. Okay, so arching, lifting the heart, breathing. So it's a low lunge. Now I can always advance by moving my hands up to my leg or the arms towards the ceiling, but for me, gentle is the new advanced. So I'm going to stay with this little more gentle approach, although it's pretty intense. Okay, now keep the forward motion. Kind of feel how the pelvis is tilted. Okay, now left foot pushes. If you're lucky to have a wall, it's nice. Because I'm going to scoot my right foot back so I have a little bit more gain to get that spring into the back foot. Lifting, I'm kind of perching forward now. Make sure your blocks are stable. We don't want anybody to fall over here. Push off the wall, bring your left foot besides the right. Okay, now I'm going to move my blocks kind of far in front, and so as I come into this forward fold, my feet hips distance, okay? My hips are reaching back. All right, door number 1 is here. This may be healthiest for most of our spines, right? The deep forward fold is not always our best spine invention here. So this is probably better for my back. Okay, although I do kind of crave doing this kind of thing. I just know that's just not good for my vertebrae. It's just not my best choice for health. But some of you don't have any spine issues, like maybe this is fine for you. Hands hold the elbows, hands hold the legs. Maybe you like to have that kind of release in the brain stem, head nod. So you can do a few moments of it. And it is interesting to feel the circulation in the face, the sinuses. That I think is very interesting. Okay, changing the consciousness a little bit. Now, if my hands are on the blocks, and that's better for my back, then I can still feel my head down, right? Okay, now, when we shift the leg that's in the lunge, give yourself a few moments here. Feel the knees bending. Take the blocks back besides your feet and step the right leg back, unless you had the other leg forward last time, which happens sometimes. And reach now. I almost want to stay in a higher lunge for a few moments, but we should probably be similar on second side. If you're craving a higher lunge, you go ahead and stay up. But as I approach lowering my back knee down, that feels good in my calf. I like that. I don't do a lot of calf stuff today. I have the brain floats a little bit, but not much. Okay. All right, better come down. So lower the back leg. If you want to stay with the leg up, that's your choice. Push the bolster maybe back, and then as I lift up, I'm going to slide my leg on the bolster so my knee doesn't touch the ground for me. Feels just a little bit more massage into the top of that thigh. Okay, now with the arch, great, looks good. Hands can be back, closer to the bolster. You might decide, nope, I'm going to bring them forward. So you can do a little bit of a block walk. A walk with a block. Walk around the block. So feeling where the hip presents the differences from left to right. I mean, they just are doing different function work here. Hip function. Okay, breathing. Take a few more moments. We're going to flush out the hip in a really interesting way, so stay tuned. Okay, now when we shift back, so I think what we're going to go towards, we're going to walk our blocks back, come back, and then if you need to move your bolster, like for me, I'm just going to flip it back this way that I came into it on the first side, just makes it easier. Bring the left foot back. Now push the bolster forward so your hands are on the ground, and you're going to reach forward. You can have your bolster under your belly button if you like, stretching through the arch of the spine. This sometimes feels good with a bolster under your belly. And then when you come back, reach your hips back. Let your arms reach wide. Okay, now as I lean forward, okay, arching, try to find that big movement, that big curve through the back and the chest and the abdominals. Okay, now when you come back to table, give downward dog a try maybe. If you're just feeling that the wrists aren't going to tolerate it at all, I would recommend use a block under each hand, right? So this is a little easier on the wrist. I just love blocks because I'm really short, so this always makes me feel a little taller. So when I lift up, a little easier on my wrists, okay, get a little more length. You want to have position the block so they're not slip sliding away, right? So they're under you. And then as you lean back, blocks or no blocks, hand on the floor or on a block, you're going to stretch back into the chest area and clearly the legs. And the heels could be up and the heels could be downwards. If they do go down, it just matters with your range of motion. Okay. Now walk the feet a little forward, so not at the wall anymore. Take the feet out to the widest stance they can go on the mat, because you probably want to not slip slide away. But the hips reach back. Now here is a safer forward bend, right? So I have my feet wide, like a wide downward dog. I have that nice kind of, Golden Gate Bridge here. So I'm reaching through my arms, an interesting spinal curve, stretching through my breathing muscles. Head leans down, right? Because if I had my feet right close to my blocks right now, if I had that forward fold that's a little closer in, that's not as great for my back. Okay, to each his own. Okay, now walk your feet back just enough so you can come down to hands and knees. Doesn't have to be especially creative, but come on down to hands and knees. And then let's come onto our back. So I want you to have your blanket under your head, but your bolster is going to be at your wall, okay? So bolster at the wall. If you need to do a child's pose, do so, like so. But I'm trying to do a set that's all knee friendly, and I don't consider child's pose super knee friendly. So it's up to you. Some people will say, child's pose is good for my knees, but if you kind of look at what it does to the knees, it might not be the most knee friendly for everybody. Let's think about everybody's needs. So bolster at the base. Now put your feet on it and actually get really close to the bolster with your tush. Blanket. Okay, let's have the most height of the blankets a really low fold. If you must use one, just make sure it's not under your neck, just that cranial support. Okay, so here I am close to the wall even. Bring your feet up at the wall, okay, up the wall. And then let's get a ball. And I'm going to place it center of the knees. I got to move my knees. There we go. Now I got the ball there, center of the knees. We did this, had a ball earlier, or the block. So you could use a block instead of a ball. Now I'm going to really anticipate this arching before I even start lifting my hips. So see what you can do with kind of moving your elbows in by your sides, kind of those robot arms or T-Rex arms, the T-Rex arms. Now, the wall is not as much traction as if your feet are on the ground, even if you're socked or not. Probably with socks, it's worse, huh? Now, when you lift up your hips, you want to press your elbows down, and I just wish my arm was a little longer for this. But lift the hips up, and then as my spine lowers down, I want to feel kind of right behind my heart, feel that touch. Slow. So I generally bypass that. I just slide down because it doesn't easily loosen up. So just go slow. Might never get that to press down today. It may just be a little tight. Okay, now next time you lift up, you're going to bring your arms maybe overhead. It's not for everybody. Some people feel like this is too much in the shoulder joint. So you alternate lift and lower at your own pace. So lift and then lower down. Okay, now your opportunity to move your feet to the bolster is any time. But what I would recommend is do kind of one more with the feet at the wall. Remember, your height with the feet is up to you. So you have to kind of play with it. Maybe you move them down, maybe you move them up. And then if you try the feet on the bolster, it's like, oh, same thing, drawbridge. I don't know. I don't get as high up on my spine when my feet are on the bolster, right? Well, that's clear because my feet are up. And then when I lift up my hips, I just go up the spine a little bit closer to shoulder stance, right? That's kind of what this is motioning. So feet on the bolster, up to you. I like the ease of pushing into my feet on the bolster. I think they're both good messengers of spine support. They're spine messengers, right? Both of them. This is a little more complete at my lower back when my feet are unbolstered. Okay, now the next one, you go up, feet are on the bolster if possible. Okay, and just be there with it. See if you can have the arms down so they're down besides the hips, they're not up overhead. And then just let the palms turn open. And then feel for that, like your shoulders are kind of sliding out. Like it's interesting, parts of those shoulder blades are now they're not the same impression. So your work is impressing the shoulders back and of course down. Right? I mean, if you try it with the palms down, it's not gonna work, right? So you have to have the palms open to get the elbows to press down, even if it's a barely an elbow touch down. All right, now knees, keep squeezing the ball. If you kind of forgot about that, that's okay. Just lower down, squeeze, really toning through the pelvic floor, squeeze the ball. Okay, and once I find the last few vertebrae that lengthen down, you're gonna bring your knees to your chest and take the ball and then place it under. I'm gonna scoot back a little bit so I have a little more range. I don't get so stuck to the wall here. Place the ball under your left rear and just roll it out. Okay, roll out the glute, left glute. Now the blanket at this point, you might have it a little tiny bit higher because of the curve condition when we twist. Okay, so you don't want to have your chin like jagged up, like pushed up and tightening your neck when you take a spinal twist. So let's massage into the glute. We're going to be blending core, spine, and hip, glute area next. So you're just going to rock across. We're in the final spinal. Good news. Nice work. So if you feel you push across, go across the whole glute sphere on the left side. Hands could be anywhere. They could be ribs. They could be side, straight open. They could be behind you, I guess. That's probably not contraindicated on this. Can't see why it would be. But kind of feel if the figure 4 works good for you. You can always try that. Actually, you know what's kind of nice to do with rolling the glute is to have your feet up at the wall because you get a deeper massage into it. But I'm already away from the wall. I'm not close enough to get my feet there. So if you want to come back to the wall, you can do that. Okay. Now, as you switch to the other side, just roll down to the right rear, take the ball out of that left side, or go to the other side that you're not on, right? So let the knees tilt to windshield wiper and then come up. Yeah, I think it's interesting to go from windshield wiper, because that's knee movement, to moving your hips a lot. Because in this glute massage, right, that we're working, you really want to get your hips to move just the right amount, but not the knees, right? We're not windshield wipering the knees. We're just moving through the pelvis. Just a meaningful amount of movement, just a little bit, not too much. Feel that glide across the glute. Breathing. Yeah, one side it might be, your movement might be slower, so you have to really match it. Do the work. Breathe. Okay. The reward is wellness, right, in the tissues. So when I come off that ball, I'm going to take the bolster with my foot and I'm going to kind of kick it over to the right side of my mat carefully. You might grab the bolster handle on the short end. That usually, if they have a handle, that's really nice. Make sure that you've got no extra clutter on that right side so that you can land the bolster and then cross the left leg to the bolster. And then as the left leg is bending, sometimes this idea of knees up, not into your chest, but up and rock on the pelvis. And then let the right knee bend a lot, left leg swings over, ball to the sacrum area, and then take your sand, if you want to use it, and carefully bring it up to that core and then down to the left hip. Okay? So you want to get a feel of that touch. It's basically this very kind of strong touch is a sandbag. Okay? So the right leg is bendy, the left arm is open. And just feeling where the heart circulation is right now, that arterial flow. So your head might roll to the left, slowing down. Just redirect the movement between the shoulders, down the spine, into your center of gravity in the pelvis. So the right hand could be open, it could be resting on your breathing cycle, just feeling the ribs or the belly. Now switching sides. So as you switch, keep the knees away from the chest, right? So we don't want to shock the sacrum area. So we keep the knees just down. And as the knees point up, I push into my feet and I move my hips a little to the right. And then I grab the bolster. And I tend to find on the second side, I use my arms to move it over. I guess some of you might kick it over, but for whatever reason, it always seems to be first side, it's the feet, and then the second, it's the arms and hands moving. So I like to move my hips a little to the right, left leg relaxes. Remember, you could do a little knee side to side, just not to the chest. And then roll so that right thigh reaches to the bolster on the left. And maybe the ball. Sometimes the ball really fits in nicely to the tailbone. And some days you just can't quite get it to stay. So the revolved core is, I don't know, for me, this is a little more satisfying than the seated twists, okay? But it's a good one to save. I think they're both really good. One is probably going to be a little more spine strengthening area when I'm seated doing it. But this is definitely a little more complementary for back easing, right? It's a little more easeful on your back if you have a really sore back, right? You wouldn't do a seated spinal twist, right? You would do a reclining twist. But something for everyone. So your head rolls to the right. The chest is open. The breath is available. Is it still available? To support your body easing and letting go. And now feeling where the back receives the breath, right? Notice before we come upside down, which is next, I want you to kind of feel where the cycle of the breath's movement is. Is it, do you feel it like in your core? Well, if I put my hand there, I do. But just notice if you can get that right shoulder to roll down. Just feel where the breath is in the back space and the front space. Okay, now move the ball, and now we're going to go into a little bit more kind of inner space. All the spaces, front, back, side, goes to inner when we come to that inversion. Slide the sand. I would say just keep it simple. Just go to a fetal position to the right or the left. Actually, I want left. Pull the blanket in, and then place your bolster. I'm assuming your bolster wall position is close to where you're at now. So go to a wall space with your bolster. If you don't like to use the wall to go in upside down. You put your legs up on a couch, a chair, an ottoman, a bed. That works great. Okay. But hopefully you might put it some height under your pelvis. It could be a bolster. It could be a blanket on a quarter fold. So sit up on the edge of the bolster and then swing the legs up. So you're on the corner. I can never get cornered enough on that one to get the legs up because I end up always a little challenge to get centered on the bolster, and you can use a round bolster for this too. Round bolsters are really interesting for legs up. They're quite complimentary of your back. So you might try that sometime or get into it now if you want to go swap for a round bolster. Okay. Zoom will send you one. All right, so take a sandbag to the soles of your feet. Have a little bit of separation. Just a little bit. And then once those legs are elevated, you can feel that you're balancing, right? You're balancing, but you're also grounded. And you can just take a little bit more ease on this than in the middle of the room. You can be in it more time, right? There's a lengthier process of letting go with legs up the wall. So with the arms in either goalpost, or if you're feeling a little bit more introverted, you might just have the hands resting on each side of the rib cage, each side of the belly, liver, spleen, just a little bit of gentle touch, or just arms a little lower. So turn that focus and just kind of feel as you acclimate, right, this little lift of the hips and the shift in the diaphragm. And feel the parts of the breath, right? As you inhale through the nose, maybe 2, maybe 3. It doesn't have to be this long, long, long breath. Find what's a healthy feel of movement for you. And what is healthy breath, right? Has got to be individual here. There are some things that we learn about it from studies and books and a lot of books and more books. But just noticing when you're arching your back, how that nourishes that movement in the core, the back muscles, the hips. Take a few more moments here. So as the spine kind of surrenders and the cranial bones are held here by the blanket, and once the breath has taken its own formula, its own formulation, just maybe let that go and let your head move a little side to side. Because the cranial area, right, has its own rhythm, right? Cranial rhythms, cranial, sacral, because we have the hips up. This is interesting as we move our head. Maybe you keep it straight in the center. Okay, bending through the legs. Just a little bit of hinge at the knees. Feel the heels kind of slide. And take the opportunity to move the feet off at the right time. You don't want to slide the feet too far down and the sand will drop at your rear. So you want to just take the opportunity to kind of hit up the muscles of tone in the glutes. The glutes are like firing on all cylinders now. So as you bend through the knees, careful with the knee pressure. You might toss your sand overhead with your feet tossing it. And then as you hug the legs, just maybe warm up the back of them. Remember, even if you're warm enough where you are, it's still good to get that circulation. It's also movement in the skin. It doesn't mean just the heat in the space. Movement, motion is lotion. And then roll to the side. Let your hands help provide you with support. And then come on around to take a seat. Briefly, sitting bones to sitting bones. As a community here, let's bring our palms towards our heart center and unite our breath. Take a slow breath, belly soft. And with exhalation, bowing into the peace behind your heart and gratitude. Namaste.